Luxury doesn't have to be expensive. I recently made a video where I claimed that watches under $1,000 are in some cases just as good, if not better, than super expensive luxury watches. And I don't think I've ever encountered a watch that embodies this sentiment quite as much as the watch that I'm talking about today. Now I know that us reviewers can be rather sensationalist with the titles of our videos. Typically though, when you watch the review, it tends to be incredibly balanced and allow you, the viewer, to come to your own conclusion. This is a watch that I definitely think deserves your attention, specifically if you're wanting a luxury style experience for under $1,000. So the watch that we're reviewing today is a microbrand dive watch, and I think this watch really stands out because of the attention to detail and the pure quality of the watch. I've reviewed over 100 watches here on the channel now, and this watch is definitely up there with the very best. Now, although I have been sent this watch for free and I do get to keep it after the review, as usual, Venezianico have had no influence in the contents of this video, and there will be some negatives about this watch at the end, so stay tuned for that. Venezianico is an Italian microbrand, and it's not a fake microbrand like Filippo Loretti and all that bollocks. The brand is based in a small town just outside of Venice, and Venice is not only the inspiration behind the name of the brand, but the logo, designs, and much more too. They actually have 66 locations across Italy where their watches are being sold. Not only that, but many places across the rest of the world too, including the US and the UK. So don't worry about import fees and duties. There might already be an authorized dealer in your country, so you might not have to pay them. Speaking of, let's first talk about price, because I feel like it's going to be an important factor regarding everything else that we cover. Now, this specific model, the NEREIDE AVVENTURINA, is listed at €779 on the official website. But again, you'll want to buy this watch from your local authorized dealer to avoid import fees and duties. Here in the UK, for example, it's £829, but always make sure you fish around for a little discount code to save yourself a little bit extra. Now, I'm fully aware that this is still an expensive watch. I know that most consider anything above the $500 range to no longer be affordable, but this isn't your typical micro-brand dive watch. It's offering a hell of a lot more. The wow factor of this watch, and the instant decider as to whether you like it or not, is the dial. The material of the dial is aventurine glass. This is a processing technique which allows for needle-like spots to glisten like peering into the night sky. This technique was actually invented in Venice in the 17th century, and it's the same dial material that Christopher Ward uses in their $2,500 moon phase watch. So this isn't some plastic starry sky effect, it's actually the real deal. And oh my, does it look good in person. The dial changes depending on the angle. As one star dims, another lightens. It just feels like a premium experience, which is continued throughout the rest of the watch. The case is your standard affair, featuring a 316L stainless steel construction. The bezel, however, is another point of interest. Some of you may see a shiny metal bezel and assume that it will be a scratch magnet. However, that isn't necessarily true. The bezel isn't actually a metal. It's made from tungsten, which is in the ceramic family of materials, so it can be scratched by diamonds, sapphires, and other crystals, but it will be pretty hard to scratch this bezel with almost anything else. So although the bezel looks like polished steel or aluminium, it's actually much more durable and should be looking fantastic for many years to come. The 120 click bezel feels extremely solid and doesn't have any backplay. The noise is also super satisfying. Covering that awesome dial is a flat sapphire with anti-reflective treatment. The AR does work incredibly well on this watch, allowing the dial to really take center place. The signed crown is a decent size and does screw down, and the engraved caseback features a ship motif with a spec sheet on the outer. Interestingly, the caseback isn't screwed down how you typically see. This one features 6 screws bolting it to the case instead. We do, however, still have 200 meters of water resistance, making this a genuine dive capable watch. The applied multifaceted indices and polished hands just pop. It really does make the dial feel deep, like peering into space. Now, there isn't much real estate for the lume, but the BGW9 Super Luminova is actually pretty decent. It's certainly no Seiko, but it definitely does the job that it needs to do, and it's always nice to have a lume pip up on the bezel. Ticking away inside of this piece isn't your typical Seiko or Miyota movement. Venezianico has instead opted to use the Swiss Solita SW200-1. This is considered one of the more premium movements when it comes to watches under $1,000. This movement allows allows for a nice smooth sweep with 28,800 vibrations per hour, and the power reserve is a bog standard 38 hours. The main benefit of this Sellita movement over something like a Miyota 9000 series is the noise. As this Sellita has bidirectional rotor winding, it tends to be a little quieter when on the wrist. Now, the base version of this watch comes with an integrated Italian-made rubber strap, the colour of which matches the deep blue of the dial flawlessly. The strap seamlessly transitions into the case, with notches around the lug area helping the flow. The strap is nice and thick at the top, allowing for great stability, but thinner towards the buckle for the comfort. I massively enjoy the contrast between the elegant sparkly effect of the dial and the tactile rubber strap. Now, you can actually get a bracelet for this watch that costs an extra €85. However, I think that the better option is actually the rubber strap, but I'll cover this in the negative section of the video, so stay tuned. Now, although the rubber strap is extremely comfortable, it does somewhat add to the size when it comes to the wearing experience. The NEREIDE model is on the larger side with a 42mm case diameter and a 49mm lug-to-lug. However, with the thickness only being 12mm and the curvature of the case and strap working together, it wears well even on my 6.5-inch wrist. Yes, the watch is without question on the bigger side, and I'm someone who usually opts for smaller watches, but I do think that they've nailed the proportions. The size also somewhat adds to the premium feel of the watch. It makes it feel more substantial, and the combination of the glittering dial, the polished bezel, and the case size will absolutely make this watch an eye-catcher. One area where luxury watches usually have the most impact is in the finishing department. This is usually where you can tell the difference between an affordable watch and one costing thousands. To the naked eye, the finishing on this watch is perfect. It has a light brush to the case sides and the lugs, with a small polished chamfered edge running along the case sides. Now, I'm actually glad that the majority of the finishing on the watch is brushed, otherwise this watch might border on being too flashy and a little bit too obnoxious. Now, I appreciate that Venezianico decided to put 0 specs on the dial. I don't mind a 200 meters or automatic sometimes, but it really doesn't need to be there. So just the brand and model name being there is a big yes from me. Now, I always enjoy a framed day-date window. I just think it adds to the premium look, and they've managed to integrate this one so that it doesn't take away from the wow factor of the dial surface. I very rarely mention the unboxing experience of a watch because realistically it doesn't actually matter, but Venezianico has done a great job with this watch. The packaging feels extremely high quality and definitely adds to the luxury experience of this watch. Now, although you can buy a bracelet for this watch, I would actually recommend just sticking with the rubber strap. The bracelet isn't bad quality or anything, it's decent enough, but when you put a butterfly clasp on a dive watch, that is a big no from me. Especially with a larger watch like this, finding the perfect fit is key, and having no micro adjustment should honestly be a crime. I'd have also enjoyed seeing some quick release spring bars on both the rubber strap and the bracelet. For some reason, the strap and the bracelet are a little bit difficult to get in, so those would definitely benefit this watch. Although the bezel is scratch resistant, it is a fingerprint magnet. I find myself cleaning it multiple times per day. Final criticism, I would have loved this watch to be a tad bit smaller. Maybe 40 or 41. But that's just personal preference. So does this microbrand dive watch deliver the luxury experience for under $1,000? For me, it does. But this, of course, is a subjective matter. It depends on what you consider luxury. This watch both looks and feels incredibly high quality, but it is missing that big fancy brand name on the dial that some people seemingly crave. I personally can't see what more one could need in a dive watch. It delivers everything to a high level and looks incredible on the wrist. You'll find the link to the Venezianico website down in the description. Go and see if you have an authorized dealer and go and check out these watches in person. I honestly think you'll be impressed. But if I have a teeny weeny bit more of your time, then go and check out my $500 5-watch collection challenge. It's a great little video, good fun. Go check it out. I'll see you over there. Bye for now.